All right, we're here for our TV review, and that means Dr. M. Sage is with us once again to do The Undoing. All right, The Undoing, a star-powered vehicle. How did you like it?
Well, it is star-powered. I'll give it that. And it's,
Star-powered from the 90s, maybe.
ooh. Well, Nicole Kidman has done a lot of HBO lately. I mean, she is still a star. Hugh Grant, maybe not quite so much. But the movie follows them. They are married.
He's good at playing the dirty old man now.
Well, now, how can you say that? He kind of does look like a dirty old man. I
I know.
have to say, there's something about him
that
kind
Amazon show last year that he was
that
like
did it.
He's just the creepy old dude now, I think, from the floppy-haired, boyish English guy from the 90s.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to really like Hugh Grant anymore. But the show follows their marriage. They are a successful Upper East Side couple. He's a pediatric oncologist. She's a successful counselor. And everything looks lovely until it doesn't anymore, when there is a murder of a parent at their son's elite prep school. So the show, I thought, was well paced at some level. I thought it had too many episodes. They could have gone with a shorter miniseries. I thought that it did well as you're watching it. When you're watching it, it comes up at the end every time. There's a twist. There's a red herring. It keeps you guessing as to what's going on. But if I'm going to be honest with you, by the end, I hated it.
Yeah. Maybe because I watched it all in one night and one 6-hour block. I didn't really like it from the start. So.
You didn't even like the first episode?
No, because I had it pegged pretty early on how this was going to break down. And that might be because I've spent, I don't know, the last 30 years watching murder mystery shows from every Nordic country that there is. So there's nothing too much that surprises me anymore. But it was done well. I will say that. Shot well. Episodes, rise arc. You want to watch the next episode every time it ends.
Yes, exactly. It gives you a twist at the end of each episode.
Yeah, and the acting I thought was really good too. Storyline
wise,
the
acting is the only thing that saved it, frankly.
Yes. I really enjoyed Donald Sutherland. I thought he was ridiculously good. But
I did too. Donald Sutherland is such a gem, and he continues, even at his age, to surprise me with just how well he can nail a character.
Yeah, I thought he was the best character in the show. But the story overall, I was totally out on, and pretty much hated every minute of it, especially from about episode 3 to 6. I was like...
Episode 6. Bad.
I was pretty much like, can we just get this over with and be done with it?
Well, I don't suggest people actually binge it in one night. I watched it over a series of maybe 2 or 3 days, and that, I think, helped with the pacing, because at the end of 2 or 3 episodes, you're kind of like, oh, I want to see what the next episode brings. I think watching it all the way through like that would be kind of difficult.
I think it might have made me pick up on every one of its flaws really quickly, as I'm like just one episode right after the other. And maybe if I had paced it along, like 1 or 2 a day for a couple days, I might not have been so harsh. But as I was just putting it together one episode or the other, I pretty much just started to be like, I hate this person, I hate this person, and everyone in this is completely inept and doesn't have a clue what they're doing.
By the end, that was sort of what I came up with too. I think that they don't let you into Grace's character, which is a shame. They don't develop her as a very deep character. They rely on a lot of close-ups close-ups of her eyes. I got really tired of seeing her bloodshot eyes. I think the director really overdid it with the close-ups. There were some scenes that I thought were really wonderfully shot. They had a few drone scenes that I thought were really good, emphasizing that Grace was alone. And that was sort of a theme throughout, that she's a stoic person, she's a loner. And I thought that those shots helped to establish that. But beyond that, well, I can't say that I thought it was wonderful.
No, the guy who did it, David E. Kelly, he does a lot of network shows. And
Yes, he does.
while this had the feel of a bigger budget HBO type show, I thought it sort of had a little bit of a networky feel to it, at least pace wise, where they arc each episode and end. And I don't know, it felt a little networky, especially at the end. It just seemed like a network feel to it, and it didn't have what I'd say is like a true HBO style miniseries or show feel to it, where there's a lot of depth and grittiness. It just seemed a little, I don't even know how to say how the end, but a little bit networky, I think. It's just
I think that that's a pretty good assessment. It didn't have the grittiness that an HBO show usually does. Now, he did Big Little Lies,
yeah.
which was much better received than this one, and also a Nicole Kidman vehicle.
Yeah, I liked Big Little Lies better than this one, though. I also didn't love Big Little Lies quite as much as everybody else, but definitely much better than this one, because this one I pretty much hated.
Well, I actually think this show is a little bit difficult to rate, because as I was watching it, and I didn't binge it like you, I thought this is fun to watch, to see what's going to come up with on the next episode. They did a very good job at bringing in the red herrings for you, but in looking back at it, I would give it a much lower rating than I would give it as I was watching it.
Yeah, I'm going to hammer it on the rating. So, see,
what did you think of the costumes?
I thought it,
and the sets?
Set wise, I thought it looked really good, sort of old money New York. I did like that.
Yeah,
It gave that true sort of feel of upper crust New York. If anyone wants to purchase me the Donald Sutherland house, I'm more than welcome to live in it.
I will live there with you. That was a gorgeous place they had there. I actually also like Nicole Kidman's apartment, as she called it.
Yeah, I'd be accepting of that one as well. But the Donald Sutherland one I liked quite a bit. But I thought that was really nice. And, it gave the sort of feel, I thought, for the show. But
it did. The only issue is that it had an opportunity. Here it is, 2020, and it had an opportunity to really kind of skewer that old money upper crust, Upper East Side, and it didn't. It didn't really bring out the disparities between people of color and white upper crust in a show about a murder and a trial, and the person who is murdered is a person of color, and we don't really get a lot of insight into all of that. It's hinted at every now and then, but it wasn't really, I thought, very, very well done.
No, I thought maybe it never totally says when the show takes place, so maybe I think they wanted that sort of it could be 80s. Well, it probably couldn't have been 80s, but 90s, 2000s, 2010s. You could sort of feel it in any of those eras, because I didn't think there was that much distinguishing stuff that separated a timeline that told you it was specifically like 2020 in it. So I think they were sort of vague.
They did bring that in the final episode, because she actually says that they met in 2003 and that they've been together for 17 years.
Yeah. But
before that, you're right. They didn't really.
Yeah, it wasn't like this is 2020, But
No, it didn't. It didn't scream 2020.
no, it didn't.
It could have,
scream to me,
and
no.
it should have. I think it would have been better if it had.
Yeah, as it might have been, though. I did find the funny scene in the first episode when they were at the auction or fundraiser or whatever, and they were like diversity, and then they do the white shot, and it's a bunch of old crusty white people.
Yes, exactly. Diversity is so important to their school. There isn't a diverse person in the whole crowd.
All right.
So that was actually pretty funny. That was
yes,
a good.
I think that might have been ended up being my favorite scene of the whole show.
It did make me laugh, and I watched the show twice. Believe it or not.
Oh, did you?
I did,
Oh,
just to make sure that maybe I got something wrong, but no, I didn't.
no. You said you saw a lot of red herrings. I think that was my main problem. I didn't see a ton of them in this. They sort of,
Oh, really?
yeah. I mean, other than the couple times where they sort of looked at Nicole Kidman's character and such, I didn't really see a ton. That's why I didn't like it the whole time, because I was like, they didn't seem to have other people that were on the hook here for anything.
Oh, see, I thought they did. I thought that they sort of made everyone a suspect at one point or another.
Oh.
Interesting. I think that has something to do with viewing it over a few days rather than all at once.
Yeah, maybe there was more time for you to think about each character and what might happen in it, whereas I was just like right on to the next episode, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that would make it a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
I thought that Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant actually had some chemistry. What do you think?
I think they did for sure. I liked the way the two acted together. Now, overall, Nicole Kidman's character, I thought I liked her playing that character, but the actual character herself, I question if that was an honorary Harvard degree that she got for psychiatry, because she seemed to have quite a bit of issues and couldn't really tell good people from bad people. So I was a little suspect on her high-end degree there, that she was such a badass shrink as they were trying to let us believe.
Yes, she was supposed to be the best.
Yeah, I didn't quite pick up on that.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. And when she was with a patient, it just was sort of like, okay, interesting advice you're giving people here.
I know. She sort of just stood doe-eyed, and I was like, I don't know where this is coming from. And then
you don't think that you would go to her counseling sessions? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think so. I think that, and I think when she's with Donald Sutherland and he admits that his marriage with his wife wasn't perfect and he slept around a lot. I was like, you didn't pick up on that? The old white dude who was never home with a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was
thinking that her parents had a perfect marriage. That was an interesting scene too. Didn't quite jive there.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
well, that's where she's giving the speech in episode 6. Although I'm trying not to give out spoilers.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Definitely.
But she doesn't see what she's supposed to see.
Yes.
Now, I did find out something interesting today, Champ. The final scene was rewritten 4 different times.
Yeah, I figured it would have had to be, because the final scene I thought was possibly the dumbest thing ever. Really,
my gosh, I'm glad you agree with me on that. The last 15 minutes are the stupidest ending to a show ever.
Yeah, I know. I think that's where my final rating, that pretty much sealed it, to where I was like, this thing is just stupid. And I'm glad I binged this in 6 hours. I won't get those back in my life.
No, that is true. And I watched it for 12. What does that say about me?
You double watched, so I don't know what you were doing. I don't think I could make it on like 2 times speed through it a second time.
well, I sacrificed myself for this podcast.
Yes, you did. Though I sacrificed too, because I ended up watching it. I probably would have put this show off for like a year and a half before I drug myself to it. So
Well, what are you rating it?
I'm giving it a 1. I
Ooh,
I
I'll give it a 2.
I was going with 2, and then the last 30 minutes or so of the show uh, pretty much put me into the 1 category. So I'm a 1 on this.
I think if you haven't watched it though, that if you give it a chance, you might enjoy it going through, not necessarily binging it. And as I watched it, I the first time I thought, wow, this is kind of exciting, interesting suspense here, and I thought this is getting into 4 territory here, but the ending killed it for me.
Yeah. I would not say don't watch it, even though I'm giving it a 1. The performances are worth watching, but don't get your hopes
Yeah,
up that you're going to get a satisfying story or ending. And if you think about it too long, you're going to dislike this show.
exactly. I would say watch it and then in the last 15 minutes turn it off.
I'd go the last episode. Just don't watch that.
You could, well, you got to get some of that last episode in, but you don't need much of it, frankly. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Okay, so you
Okay,
want to go
folks.
into spoiler territory?
Yes, if you're listening and you haven't watched it, stop listening now, because now we're going to get into the fun stuff.
Yeah. All right. Into the fun stuff.
Okay, I wanted Donald Sutherland to be the one who was guilty because his character was so badass that I thought that would have been a much more satisfying ending.
Well, see, I wanted the child to be a psychopath and gone there and smashed the woman's face in. I think that would have brought it to me. I think that would have had my Nordic vibes. If it had been a Finnish show,
Well, I
it would have
thought
been
that
the
would have been
child.
much more interesting.
That's what I mean. I think it would have been much more interesting. And then when you get Nicole Kidman, who goes on the stand and turns on him and does her heel turn, it would have been to protect the child. And at least you got a storyline there.
This show had a great ending point, and that was after her testimony when she left the courtroom. They could have ended it there, left it ambiguous, because then you weren't quite sure, was he guilty or was she just lying because she just lied on the stand over and over again. And if they'd left it there, an ambiguous ending, I think it would have been a much more satisfying show. Hugh Grant is the one who didn't want that ending, though. He wanted them to know that he was the murderer, it turns out.
Yeah. I didn't like that either. Well, I could have liked it, but the fact that they made him such a lovable guy, or tried to make him such a lovable guy through 6 episodes, which I don't know if that came off all that great. He was a little creepy from episode 1 until 6, I thought. But the way he went from 0 to 60 and smashed the woman's face in, I have a feeling that's not a one-off type of thing. I went, if this guy was that psychotic, there are probably prostitutes buried in that little house in the Hamptons or somewhere all over the place. This isn't sort of a one-off type thing where all of a sudden he's, psychotic and wants to smash somebody's face in 1,500 times.
I totally agree. This isn't a crime of passion here. They left so many holes throughout this series. Now, you must have noticed this even more watching it all back to back. Donald Sutherland has this big dramatic scene where he talks about how he gave him $500,000. What happened to that money? And Hugh Grant has supposedly been out of work for 3 months now. Where's he been hanging out?
Well, yeah, I questioned that, and I also questioned if he would have really been fired. If he was such this great doctor who was curing children's cancer, I have a feeling we probably would have glossed over him sleeping with a patient's mother or two here.
I thought so. I'm like, really? You fired this guy. You gave him ample warnings that he was doing something wrong. And I'm like, No, I
Yeah,
don't buy it. If he was this wonderful cancer doctor, they're just going to hide it and pay her off.
that's what I mean. They shove it under the carpet, and then if she gets mad, she sues, and they pay her off, and she goes away, and he takes a class for 4 months, and then he's back working with patients.
Exactly. That's exactly what would happen. Oh, and Henry. Oh, first he hides the hammer in
Oh, I
old
had a very problem with that.
fireplace.
I was like, well, this goes to the whole police investigation. They didn't get a search warrant for the Hamptons home up there.
I know, it was ridiculous. And then Henry runs the hammer through the dishwasher twice. Really, Henry has access to the dishwasher when the maid's not around, and he runs the hammer through it twice. I don't see that happening.
See, that's where I thought it was the child. I'm still going with that it's the psycho child. Any child who likes playing violin at the age of 13 definitely has a screw loose. So I'm guessing that it was the child that bashed the woman's face in, and we got a fake flashback scene in there.
Oh, the last 15 minutes I found so difficult to watch. Really, Manhattan traffic, but you can get from the courtroom to the helipad and get your helicopter and go on a police chase.
Yeah, well, I'm
Come
ignoring
on.
that whole kidnap, police chase, bridge, maybe suicide scene ever happened at all. That was totally weird. And if anything, they were going to have to go even more gruesome, where he kills himself and the child to make that worthwhile. And they even capped out of that and just had Nicole Kidman running to the child, which
Oh, and then she runs to him and then running back, and she's
yes.
smiling, and it's wonderful, and it's all over. And I'm like, oh, there's no psychological trauma that goes along with this or anything. What kind of psychiatrist are you?
Yeah, I know. That's where I had my network feel for sure. I was like, it's such a ABC show ending.
They tied it up with a big red bow. They didn't need to do that. That ruined. I think that ruined the whole show.
I also had a bit of a problem with the high-powered genius attorney who decided to put both Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman on the stand. I've watched enough Discovery ID. None of those people ever testify, because if they do, they get found out and get convicted guilty. So that lawyer never would have put Hugh Grant on the stand, for one. And when they got away with Hugh Grant getting on the stand and made him look innocent, they damn sure would not have put Nicole Kidman on the stand.
No way. Plus, this lawyer who, at the last minute, calls the little boy up to the stand, no preparation or anything. Oh, hey, he's in the crowd. I'll call the son up to the stand. No,
Yeah,
that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, definitely a lot of holes here. And that's probably why I disliked it more than anything.
Major holes.
Major holes. And I always thought Hugh was the guilty party too. That's why I never bought the red herrings that it might be Nicole Kidman, or it might be Donald Sutherland, or it might be the kid. I was like, Hugh's done this the whole time, because I didn't think they had just photo of Nicole walking and then they poo-pooed that. And I was like, well, yeah, but you aren't going to have Nicole Kidman bash somebody's face in 100 times. So it probably has to be.
Nicole Kidman doesn't look strong enough to bash.
That's why I was like, she's lifting a hammer and slamming this woman in the face. I was like, well, that's a no. And then you see a couple Donald Sutherland scenes and the man can barely walk. So I was like, yeah, he probably didn't go down into the basement there and blast somebody's head.
I do think he could have bashed someone's head in, though.
I don't know.
He could walk very well.
I feel like he would have fallen over.
I think that the idea that Nicole Kidman walks all over New York by herself in the middle of the night is also pretty laughable.
Well, I think that's her honorary Harvard degree and her stress release working there.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, walking through Central Park alone, and they make the husband of Elena look so ominous there, and it's just like, right, because she's never had anyone stalk her in the park before.
Yeah, I know. She was a pretty lightly dressed, too. I feel like she needed a couple more jackets if she's just strolling along New York.
Yes, in the middle of the snow with her long green coat.
Yeah.
Her coats were beautiful, though. I have to say,
I
I
will say,
enjoyed looking at her coats.
yeah, all those dresses were really nice. I loved all the ballroom dresses, though. I found it funny they
Hmm.
covered everyone up except for the hot girl Hugh was sleeping with. Where they gave her that giant V-cut dress where her boobs were pretty much all the way out.
Yep, exactly. Oh, and you know what? They never followed up. The police were so inept. There had to be some sort of camera in the elevator in that building where Nicole kissed Elena, and yet that never came up again. So I question why they even had the scene in there if they weren't ever going to use it.
HBO, they have to do their token lesbian or male gay scene just to be, flirting with the line of, that's what I figured.
Oh, well,
Well, I thought
HBO's
the
going to
locker
have to
room scene
step
was
it up.
enough.
Oh, gratuitous there, maybe a little bit.
I'm not one. I'm just like, who the hell's walking up in a locker room and just butt naked going right into your face?
I know that does. I've never had that happen in a locker room before.
Very weird.
It would be interesting if it did.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that would have started a fight pretty instantly.
Somebody, I think, would have been kicked out.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we know how both of us feel about The Undoing.
Yes, I know.
It's undone.
Not our favorite show. So,
No.
and somehow was better than The Crown. So it wasn't better than The Crown, which I didn't like last week. So I'm on a 0 for 2 streak here.
You're on an O for everything streak. You
I
didn't
think-
like Emily in Paris either.
No, I think Emily in Paris might be my number one leading show right now of the ones we've done.
Oh, no. That's really saying something.
I could at least ignore Emily in Paris while that was on the screen. The other two I actually had to watch.
Okay. I can buy that.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're going to be off next week for the Christmas holiday. And then we're going to do The Mandalorian.
Yes, The Mandalorian.
I think I'll like this one.
Well, I hope so. You have to like something at some point.
Yes, I know.
Or what's the point of watching television?
I sometimes ask myself those same questions.
Oh, no. I love entertainment.
Yes, I know, but I never find any of them entertaining.
Well, since I'm missing hockey, which is my number one fall and winter sport and number one television viewing during winter time, I got to get into the series.
Yes. All right. So Mandalorian in 2 weeks. We'll be back. Mandalorian. I think I'll like this one. It automatically gets like a 2.5 just because it's Star Wars. So.
Oh, okay. This should be interesting. I am not into Star Wars as much as you, but I won't give anything away about The Mandalorian yet.
All right. That's our show. Thanks, Dr. M. Sage, for joining us, and we're out.